And you mentioned a moment ago that of the 14 who saved us from the fiscal cliff, 7 were women. We now have 20 women in the Senate. Is there a special bond among the women, and do they collaborate more, and is this a sexist question?
I don't think it's a sexist question at all. I think one of the solutions, in addition to changing the way we do fundraising in this country and trying to do something about the Citizens United case with a constitutional amendment or with legal change right now would not be enough. A statutory trade would be to actually have more women in Congress. We are up to 20 women in the Senate, so they can't call us the Sweet 16 anymore. I did a tweet that went viral a few years ago that said, for the first time in the history of the United States of America, we have a traffic jam in the women's senator's bathroom, resulting in Barbara Mikulski and I becoming members of the Expand the Women's Bathroom Committee, which we appointed ourselves, resulting in the most hilarious discussion I've ever been at with the architect of the Capitol, where they presented a certain number of stalls, and we told them that that was unacceptable because it was a glass ceiling. Needless to say, we got our way.
I hope it was 100.
But what's amazing about the women senators is that we, first of all, are friends. We work together. We trust each other. We have dinner together about every other month. Of course, at those dinners, what's said never goes out of the room, and we never talk about the male senators. And we also, at times, and because there are such different ideologies in the room, you're not going to see us all getting on one bill. But recently, it was a big help to me when the 20 women senators requested a hearing in judiciary on my sex trafficking bill, and we eventually went on to pass it. Or the 20 women senators all voted the same on the Stronger Domestic Violence Act. There was a weaker one in the House that didn't do much to help tribal women. It didn't do much to help immigrant women, and we were able to pass the stronger version after the Democratic and the Republican women all banded together and voted the same way. I think the most important thing is when things come up like the shutdown, that it's no coincidence, and we're only 20% of the Senate, but 50% of that group, the women just have these relationships of trust. So we tend to do bills together more. There was a Harvard study recently that actually showed the numbers that showed that, in fact, to be true, that we did more work across the aisle, and also that we tend to pass bills together more. So I think part of it just may be that the women that came up running didn't exactly come in just swaggering around, saying they could get things done. Most of them came up what I call the accountability route. When I was first running for DA, I really didn't have a lot of models. There'd never been a woman in either job I took in my state. And so I would look at the websites of people like Janet Napolitano, and she would have all these goals, and then she'd show how she met them. So I thought, well, I think I'll do the same thing. And I think you see a lot of women running more on results. There was someone who once said about women candidates that they need to, part of it I disagree with, part of it I agree with, that they need to speak softly and carry a big statistic. And I don't agree with the speak softly, but I agree with the big statistic. So I think you have a little bit of a different personality type that gets in. It's not true across the board, but there is some validity to that. And then you also have the fact that we're in a minority group, and so you tend to stick together, and you get power that way by sticking together even across the aisle.